The Greater Centerville Historians organized in the year 2000. The purpose of the organization is to preserve the history of the Township of Centerville, Cleveland and surrounding area. Gerald O'Neill, Charlie Bauer, Richard Wiegand, and myself, Kathleen Sixel, were the founding members. In 1831, the territory south of Green Bay was sold to the U.S. government by the Native Americans who had title to the land. The consideration was the promise of a reservation in another state. The Township of Centerville was established in 1850. The township had a village called Centerville. The reason for the hamlet's original name of Centerville was, in the days of the Indians, there was a trail along Lake Michigan between Manitowoc and Sheboygan. This heavenly spot was exactly at the halfway mark, so the early white man gave it the name Centerville. In 1849, the village of Centerville was surveyed and laid out in lots and blocks. The village of Centerville was renamed Hika when the Postmaster General informed the village leaders that another Centerville was located in the state. When it became time for Centerville to be renamed, a judge in Manitowoc by the name of Albert Schmidt would take kids hiking. The judge said, "You can't call a town hiking, so why not make it Hika?" Thus, the village of Centerville became Hika. In the early years, Centerville had the vision of becoming a lake port. To encourage ships to dock there, 2 piers were built into Lake Michigan. Many German immigrants arrived by schooners, and the village began to grow. The village had a brick factory, stores, schools, a Lutheran and a Catholic church, mills, saloons, blacksmith shop, and a fire department, and a brewery. When the brewery was built, the settlement began to flourish. But when fire destroyed the brewery, the largest industry, there was no longer a need for the harbor facilities. So ended this chapter of the development of Hika. 2 miles west of Hika, another settlement known as St. Wendel began to grow. It had a Catholic church, a general store with a connected dance hall, and a post office was also located in the complex, a funeral parlor, and at one time a motel. With the clearing of the forest, tilling of the land began. This prompted the exporting of lumber and grains. The farmers of Centerville looked forward to the building of a railway since they had a serious problem transporting their products. In 1873, the Milwaukee, Lakeshore, and Western Railroad was built between the settlements of Hika and St. Wendel and was named Centerville Station. In 1880, Centerville Station was renamed Cleveland after President Grover Cleveland. Cleveland, at that point in time, owes its growth to the fact that the Township of Centerville was a rich farming community, and farmers for miles around would bring products to be shipped by rail or ship. The village of Cleveland had several grocery stores, a furniture store, a funeral parlor, several saloons, Lutheran church, hardware stores, several gas stations, newspaper, photographer studio, several car dealerships, cheese factory, several feed mills, livestock yard, and lumber yards. The biggest business was the Cleveland Co-op, which offered many types of services. With the failing of grain crops, the farmers began dairy farming. With the abundance of milk, another industry began, cheese and butter making. Local cheese factories dotted the countryside. One-room schools were usually built near the cheese factories, so children would have a ride to school when farmers brought their milk. In 1958, Hika, St. Wendel, and Cleveland incorporated into the village of Cleveland. In 1968, the Cleveland Elementary School was built. The Township of Centerville has seen many farming changes, but dairy farming is still the primary vocation. Today, Cleveland is known as the seat of Lakeshore Technical College, which offers an educational alternative to four-year colleges. An ancient proverb states, When an old person dies, a library burns to the ground. These words were the inspiration for organizing the Greater Centerville Historians. We hope to preserve as many memories as possible.
Hika Bay, and we're going through the cemetery today to identify some people's names that were perhaps prevalent in the past history of Hika Bay. Is joining me today on Sunday, and maybe she can give us some information about where we are and what's sort of happening today.
Well, we're at the cemetery down here in Hika, which is part of Cleveland.
Okay.
And it's the St. George and St. Johannes cemetery.
All right.
I have a father and a mother and an uncle and aunt, two uncles and an aunt.
Okay.
And I hope to be buried here too. My husband's buried in Milwaukee, but I hope to
you want to be buried
here.
Oh, okay.
We got somebody here now, I guess, huh?
Looks like things are moving along now.
Okay.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. She'd like to identify herself.
I'm Dorothy Anderson, but I was a mill girl down the street here, and living in the house I was born and raised in, and my dad was the printer down near the lake.
All right. Very good. That's very good. Thank you.
Well, Gordon is dead. He was the butcher, and his wife is still living.
Okay. So he was the butcher here in Hika?
Cleveland.
In Cleveland. Okay. All right.
And then there's Wallace is still living. Willard is dead. And Hulda. Those must have been other children that I didn't know.
Okay. Had a group here that has responded to come to the cemetery here and in Hika, and I'm just going to pan around and then we'll get closer with the introductions later. Would like to speak?
I'm Walter Kress, and I have 4 generations of my parents, grandparents are buried in the cemetery.
Okay.
Great-grandparents too.
All right. And could you give me the name of the cemetery?
St. George, Hika.
Okay. All right. I'll go right on to this lady. Could she identify herself, please?
I'm Florence Kress. My grandparents, my mother's parents, are buried here.
Oh, okay. Very good.
He also has a brother buried here.
Very good. Thank you. And who would I have here, please?
I'm Dorothy Anderson from Hika down here, and I have my grandparents are out at the other cemetery. My folks are here, and my uncles are here.
Okay.
At the cemetery.
All right. Very good. Thank you. And who do we have here, please?
I'm Kathy Sixel, and I'm just here for information. I have no one buried here, but I want to hear the history of the cemetery today.
Okay. Very good. And this gentleman?
I'm Richard Wiegand, and I would have some relatives buried here, although most of my ancestors are on the Saxon Cemetery.
Okay.
And I would like to say that we're doing, I don't know if you want to have a name.
Go
This
ahead.
is a cemetery walk on the 8th of July, year 2001. And this is the oral history group representing Cleveland and Centerville in Manitowoc County, Wisconsin. And if it weren't for the people that we're going to visit with here on the cemetery today, none of us would be here. So this is a solemn occasion and a very respectful one
Okay.
for all of us.
Thank you. Okay, and who do I have here, please?
I'm Vernon Cress Sr.
Okay.
I was custodian and president of the cemetery for 18 years.
Okay.
I have great-grandparents, grandparents, my parents, and a son buried on the cemetery.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. And who do I have here, please?
Dolores Kress. I'm Vernon's wife.
Okay.
And we have a son, John, buried here.
All right. Very good.
And my parents, and I have two brothers buried here that were in the service.
All right.
And that's about it.
Okay.
My parents are buried down here.
What's your maiden name?
What's your name?
Ross.
Voss?
Yeah.
Boss.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very
Sister
good.
to Voss.
Thank you very much. Who is going to explain a few things? Maybe you can go right ahead, please.
This part over on this side is the Catholic cemetery. They call it St. George. The
Okay.
dividing line is right down the middle here.
Right down the middle.
And on this side is St. Johannes Cemetery.
All right.
Where you see the big tree down there, that's the dividing line.
All right. Okay. And as far as, again, you indicated your occupation on this cemetery was what?
Well, I was the president and I clipped the lawn and
Okay.
everything else what went with it.
Okay. And maybe you had indicated you were of two different religions here. Maybe that'd be interesting.
Oh, yeah, 40 years of Catholic, 41 years of Lutheran.
Okay.
The Lord has to take me the best part of me.
Excellent. Appreciate that. Okay. Anything else you might want to add to
about
that?
it.
No. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Information here.
Years ago, there was a dividing line here, but since a lot of them Catholics have been buried over on the St. Johannes side, through mixed marriages and children being born,
Okay.
young children being buried.
Sure.
So
All
we
right.
accept anybody over there.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Who seem to have more information for us.
Richard Wiegand and Vernon Cress. I'm asking Vernon Cress when they took the boundary out between the two cemeteries, and if this is a single cemetery association or if it isn't, one side is maintained still by the other church and one side is maintained by other church. And what do they call the entire cemetery now, or does it still have two identities?
Still have two identities. St. George this side,
Okay.
St. Johannes that side, and it's being maintained by two separate people. I mean,
Two separate
two
organizations.
organizations, yes.
Okay.
Okay. And when did this boundary get taken out of here?
Gosh, that's before my time. Long
Okay,
before
a
my
long
time.
ago.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
there are Catholics buried on that side, and there are
Right.
Lutherans buried or Protestants buried on this side. So
All right.
it doesn't matter anymore.
All right.
Yeah, except that it's maintained still
Yeah.
by the
Okay.
separate.
Just by separate churches. Now, the churches that still maintain this, do you know who they are, or who does this? The churches wise?
Actually we're independent, but our main people come from St. John's and St. Peter's
Okay.
up here in Cleveland.
Yes. Yes.
And Lloyd Vogel is taking care of it now.
Okay.
So
And as far as the other organization, you say that's an independent, or is that a different church?
no, it's mostly we report to the state.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
actually
But it's people from St. Wendel that are still maintaining
this one,
the-
yes, and
Okay, that's what okay,
that
fine.
church.
Yeah.
Now, there used to be two churches back here behind us.
yeah.
All right.
In Hika here, there was St. Johannes or St. John Lutheran Church, and
Yeah,
there was
right.
St. George Catholic Church.
Right.
All right.
And the St. John Church, when they combined St. John and St. Peter from Union Road, became one church in 1923 in the village of Cleveland.
Okay.
St. George Catholic Church was maintained until 1952, I believe, right? 1952. And then that church was then torn down. The Lutheran church was removed back in the 1920s already.
All
so
right.
There's no churches here anymore.
Nothing here at all?
No.
Oh, okay. Very good. Thank you. We found the old gravestone here, and maybe there's a little bit of a story behind that gravestone.
Richard Wiegand, Jane Rain was a resident of Hika, village of Cleveland, here back in the early 1800s, and she was known as a woman of ill repute.
Okay.
And she was murdered apparently in about 1860, which seems to be we can't read it very well on the stone. 1860. She was murdered in the upstairs of the Hika Bay Tavern that used to be an inn. She apparently was an Indian or a half Indian, half Native American, and she was buried in this cemetery far away from anybody else that was buried at the time. If you look at the stones all around here, these are all newer stones in this section except this one. So she was obviously shunned, you know, in her burial to this corner of the cemetery.
Okay.
Somebody has been thoughtful enough to put some flowers here for Jane. This is all I know that I can think of right now.
I'm Kathy
Kathy.
Sixel, and I would like to add that she was supposed to have been working for Earl Stoltenberg's great-grandparents, I think it was.
Okay.
She helped them she did the cleaning they must have had a furniture store, I think, at one time, and in their home. She helped clean in that. And then I also have information on a Jacob Reen. Does anybody know anything about Jacob Reen? He was in the Civil War, and according to Earl Stoltenberg, out near Casa Cemetery, the foundation is yet of the house where Jane Reen was supposed to have lived.
Okay.
Anybody know anything about this information? Richard?
If he would have been in the Civil War, he would have been born, you know, he would have been 18 years old probably in 1860, so my guess is he would have been born in the 30s or 40s. He could have been her son.
December 3rd,
or a younger brother.
December 3rd, 1864. Company B.
He was serving in, okay.
Term expired.
Okay. From 1861 to 1864. Could have been a relative, a younger brother, perhaps.
Good. Very good.
We're speculating, and if anybody
speculating.
has information, we'd be real happy to hear anything about this.
Okay.
Okay?
Very good. Thank you.
All represented.
A lot of nice artificial flowers that look so pretty.
I was here one day and I found an Olga vase, and my teacher was Olga vase.
Information here pertaining to the cemetery.
Richard Wiegand, my grade school teacher was Olga Voss, married to Ray Voss, over at, and she taught at the Pleasant Hill School up on Union Road for many years. And I was here one day looking for her grave because I knew she was buried here, and I found an Olga Voss, but it didn't match the description for the dates or the husband.
Yes.
And it turns out to have been her mother.
Okay.
So there's two Olga Vosses buried on this cemetery.
Okay.
So you might tell us about yours.
My mother and father.
Yeah.
Well, my mother,
What's your name?
she, Dolores Kress.
Hi, Dolores. Okay.
My mother's and my parents' names are Ross,
And the first name?
Olga, and William John Ross. He was the fourth.
The fourth.
Yeah. And my brother, two of my brothers, they're buried on the other side of the stone. One served Kenneth Ross and Roger Ross. One's Kenneth. He served in Korea
Okay.
War, and Roger, he served in Korea war was almost over with when he was
Okay.
shipped over there.
Okay.
It wasn't during the war.
Yes.
And then someday my other brother's going to be buried alongside of that Orville Ross, and he was in World War II.
All right.
So he servicemen.
Wonderful. Well, I mean, that's a tribute to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Your parents-wise, anything on that? Are they...
My dad was a mason.
Okay.
My mother was just a homemaker.
All right. Very good. Well, thank you. Richard, anything to add to that?
No, not right now. I have another question though. We'll
Okay.
start that one after we move.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Lady here, we had some information.
Dorothy Anderson from down in Hika here, and I live in the house that this Richard Coiney was born in, and he and his wife are both cremated and buried here.
Okay.
Richard's son belongs to our Centerville Settlement organization.
All right.
And if you go down in Hika, several of the houses were all Coineys down there, and they also had at the dam they had the mill.
Okay.
Way back.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Here is some information on the cemetery.
Dorothy Anderson from down in Hika here. This is a Coiney, they apparently did this years ago. This was a Coiney area. And there might be other Coineys buried here, but when Richard and his wife died in Chicago, they brought their remains back to be buried here.
Okay.
So the Coineys had quite a bit to do with Hika.
All right. Did they have a business, you say?
Yeah, they ran the mill.
All right.
And well, the first three houses down from the lake on the left side of the road were all Coiney houses.
Okay.
I live in one of them.
All right. Now the name Coiney, can you spell that for me?
Keune.
All right. Coiney. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, the name on the gravestone is what, please?
Hinz. Hinz.
Hinz.
Rudolph Hinz.
Okay.
Was the barber in Hika.
All right.
Across the mill dam from where I live.
Okay.
And he always walked across the dam and came up the road and saw him a lot in town.
Okay. All right. Very good. Did he have the barber shop a long time?
I imagine so. All I remember is him being there.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Here, regarding the Stoltenberg stone here.
Yes.
He was proprietor and funeral director for many years in Cleveland.
All right.
He was a very huge man, and he died suddenly. He didn't get too old. He was a nice guy.
Okay. And do you remember when he did die?
59, I think. No,
All right.
it's on here.
It's on
49.
there? 49?
Yeah, 1949.
Okay. All right. And he was undertaker, is that correct?
And the store.
And the store.
Well, and at that time they had furniture and refrigerators and you name it.
Okay.
General store.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Wally, anything you can add to that one?
Wait till we go over to the other side.
Okay, very good. I'd like to speak about something here in the cemetery.
I'm Dorothy Anderson from down in Hika, and this is the grave of my father and mother. And they lived, my dad was the printer in Hika,
Okay.
and my mother came from Milwaukee. And then my uncle and aunt are buried here, and my Aunt Laura was my mother's sister, and Julius was my father's brother, so that's a double.
Oh, really? Go over that one more time, please.
Aunt Laura here was my mother's sister, and Uncle Julius was my mother's brother.
Okay.
And then he had another brother, Rudolph, over here.
Okay.
And when I get buried, I'm going to be buried next to
Next
him,
to Rudolph.
instead of going back to Milwaukee where my husband is.
Oh, okay.
So there's room there.
All right.
And these two, well, he had an orange grove in Florida, and from 1915 on, they went to every winter and spent the winter, or he did. And then when my uncle Julius retired from the railroad, then he went down there too every winter.
Okay.
And had the orange grove.
All right.
Spent the summer in Hika.
Do you remember what place in Florida did you?
Vero Beach.
Vero Beach. Okay, very good.
On an orange grove.
Thank you. More information on the gravestones?
This is, I'm Dorothy Anderson from Hika here, and this is still part of the mill area.
Okay.
So my sister Wynn will be buried here, and her husband John Eggers is buried here.
Okay.
Now we have the older mill people, the grandmas and the grandpas, are out at the cemetery way north of here.
All right.
Near the railroad track.
All right. Very good. Thank you. There was information in regard to a gravestone we're looking at.
Richard Wiegand. I was confirmed in the St. John St. Peter Lutheran Church in 1962, and in my confirmation class was Carl Hintz and his sister Carol. I think they were twins, if I remember correctly, and Carl died the next year. He didn't get very old, so he's buried here.
Okay.
1948 to 1963, and his parents are buried on the other side. I didn't know them well, but I remember them.
Okay, I'll be right there.
Emma are on the other side.
Very good.
So, okay, the parents of Carl and Carol Hintz, and there's some other children. The parents are buried here. Carl is on one side of the grave, and Reuben, the father, and Emma are buried on the other side of the grave, on the east side of the grave here.
Okay.
And this is in the St. Johannes part of the cemetery.
There's more information on the gravestones?
Yeah, Richard Wiegand. About a year ago, I audio taped Hubert and Marie Dersch, living in the village of Cleveland. He's 91 years old now, and Marie would be 89. She was a Dine, sister to Woodrow Dine, and anyway, I spent about 2.5, 3 hours with them, audio taping them. They can't get out much, but my suggestion would be sometime if we could videotape them, it would be really good.
Yes.
And he told me a lot of history of the village.
Okay.
Of Cleveland.
All right.
One of his ancestors was one of the people that laid out the design for the roads of the village of Cleveland when it was started. And another one, I think, was a Balitz or a Stoltenberg. I don't remember exactly, but there were 3 guys who started that village up there.
Okay.
When the railroad came through.
Very good. Thank you. We've got some more information here on a plaque that's at the cemetery, and maybe Richard can help us out.
Richard Wiegand, I remember Harold Colt quite well. He only passed away a few years ago, but he drove the Standard Oil gas truck for many years, and when I was a dairy farmer, he delivered fuel to the farm. He's a veteran of World War II, and his father Elmer is buried somewhere just on the other side there, and Adeline is still alive yet today and very active in the garden club in the village, and she's having a good time. So.
Good.
And
yes.
Dorothy Anderson, Harold is the one person that went through grade school and high school with me.
Okay.
Otherwise, some of the other kids skipped classes or didn't continue.
All right.
And go on to high school, but Harold did.
Harold did. And what school was that, if I may ask?
Well, the Red Arrow School, grade school, and Sheboygan High School.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Information on some buildings in the background. So go right ahead, sir.
I'm Walter Kress, and the yellow house you see in the far back, that is the parish house of the old Lutheran church.
Okay.
And it's the original barn to the left of it.
All right. And that barn was used for what purposes?
For horses and...
Okay. But that was the parish house, and what was the name of the church again?
Richard, what's the name?
John St. Peter.
St. Johannes or St. John?
St. John's.
St. John's.
Before they moved to Cleveland.
Oh, okay, very good. Do you know who lives in that home right?
Lives in it now.
Oh, okay, very good.
Oh, he's the brother to Carl. Right? Harold,
Yeah.
the son of Reuben. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, you want to add that into this thing?
You can say.
Go right ahead. Wally?
Carl, who was buried on the cemetery here, is a brother to Harold.
All right. Very good. Well, thank you all, Wally.
Sure.
We're standing at a gravestone here, and there's some more information to be had here.
This Richard Wiegand, this is Gilbert and Irma Balitz. Irma is still alive. Gilbert was an important businessman in the village of Cleveland. He ran a feed mill. He also had a poultry plant. He also I think was involved in a small canning company for a while. His father was involved in that, and he also owned an airplane. And he used to give people rides, and he used to land somewhere around here. That you might know.
On the Brewery Hill.
Yes.
No. My grandpa's farm.
That's all I'll say.
That's all.
Oh, one thing else I might mention is the Balitzes were the founders of Kiel, Wisconsin.
Really?
Yeah, they came from the northern part of Germany where Kiel is, and they started in Kiel, and established several businesses there and the school and everything. And these guys are descendants of those Bailitzes. All of them were business-minded, very entrepreneurial type of people.
Wonderful.
Vernon?
Vern's got something to say.
Okay, Vernon?
I'm Vernon Crest Sr.
Yes, sir.
Regarding Gilbert, I had my first airplane ride with him when I was about 8 or 9 years old.
Okay.
He rented land from my grandfather.
Yes.
Just a little east of Cleveland up there.
Okay.
Grandfather had a 130-acre farm.
Yeah.
And he took off there and he gave rides on Sundays. And one day I was the only one there and he says, jump in, and away we went.
Oh, what a thrill, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful memory.
Yeah.
Thank you. You might have some more information for us?
I'm Florence Chris, and Gilbert's brother was my brother-in-law, who was married to my sister,
Okay.
Leonard Bailitz,
All right.
and they're buried, or they have a mausoleum.
All
So they
right.
aren't here.
Okay.
Okay, that's it.
Very good. Thank you. Down here in the Hika Bay area on the cemetery, and we have some more information here.
Richard Wiegand, I wanted to mention something about Olga Voss, who's buried here. She was married to Raymond Voss. Olga Voss taught in the Pleasant Hill School on Union Road for many years. And she retired from there in 1961 and then went and taught, eventually ended up in the Sheboygan School District before she finally finished teaching.
Okay.
But I had her for 7 years, from 1954 until 1961. And then I had Fred Trittner for 1 year, a young fellow, to finish off my 8 years.
Okay.
And all these schools around here closed down about 1962. So
All right.
I graduated from a one-room school, as did everybody, you know, as my age or older in this area.
Okay.
She taught all eight grades, about 30 students in the school.
Wonderful. Thank you, Richard.
And Bernie said you drove around, oh, she said she drove around there. They didn't see anything. There's still corn up there
Talked about that.
where they could have dug the other night.
What are they going to do with your church then? Have it a church?
Who has some information in regard to the cemetery?
I'm Vernon Crest Sr.
Yes, sir.
This is my stone here and my wife's.
Okay.
And on the other side, we lost a son 24 years ago.
All right.
That's why we have this stone purchased sooner.
Okay.
And well, you can see how old we are.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Somebody, Richard Wiegand, somebody's going to ask, okay, sometime in the future, we might as well ask you now. Why is this stone oriented on an angle like this and the other stones are oriented, you know, north-south?
That's the way somebody laid it out. It's all round, see it?
Uh-huh. It's round here?
Everything is...
Everything is round.
Yeah.
Yes.
They all
Okay.
face northeast.
Well, over here, several of them are slanting, Richard.
They're all,
Yeah. You just explained
they'll
that.
all be that way.
Just to make it,
Yeah.
It's just round in this corner here.
I
They decided to lay them out there.
Stone here on the Hika Bay Cemetery, and maybe this lady can give us some more information.
I'm Dolores Voss Cress and Roger Cress,
Okay.
Kenneth Cress, Kenneth Voss, and Roger Voss, and Orville Voss.
Okay.
And Roger, he was in the Army,
Okay.
and Kenneth, he was in the Korean War,
Okay.
and Orville, he's still living, but
Okay.
he was in World War II.
All right.
And my parents are buried on the other side.
Okay, I'll be right there. Identify yourself one more time.
Dolores Voss Crest.
Okay.
William Voss, my father,
Okay.
and Olga Marie, her name was, my mother,
Okay.
and my dad, he was a mason, and my mother was just a homemaker.
All right.
She had 9 children. And
9 children. Wow.
One of my brothers died in infant, and he's buried in Los Corners Cemetery.
Okay. All right.
So that's about it.
And where are you with your brothers? Are you the youngest, oldest, or in between there?
The two of them are Kenneth and Roger were the youngest of the family, and then Kenneth. and I was in between.
All right.
My older brother is between.
Okay.
Then I got one more brother, Willis.
All
He's
right.
married to Dolores Yaney.
Okay.
They're going to be buried up in Saxon.
Oh yes. Okay.
Saxon up
Sure.
there?
Sure. Okay. Well, thank you very much. The gravestone here, and we got only some kind of markers, and we're trying to identify those markers with location of Kathy Sixel and Richard Wiegand. But there's a gentleman in the middle here who will give us some more information also. Go right ahead.
I'm Vernon Crest Sr. This is Ernestine Bramer's grave. She was the wife of a...
Kathy's standing by a marker stone, and also I've got Richard Wiegand pointing to a marker stone here on the cemetery, and the gentleman here in the middle will explain a little bit of the information.
I'm Vernon Crest Sr. Regarding this grave of Mrs. Bramer, he came to me right after she died, and she did not want to be buried in a concrete vault, so we had to sneak in a wooden one. And there is no, as you see, there's no stone or anything here.
Okay.
She had a little tree planted for a while, and that it wasn't taken care of. It's gone.
Okay.
So, and her husband is not buried here for some reason I don't know.
Okay. So there is only one person buried here.
Right, one person.
And she was not buried in a vault or a coffin?
In a coffin.
In a coffin?
In a wooden vault.
In a wooden vault?
Yeah.
Okay.
A wooden.
Yes.
What do you call it that?
Rough box?
Rough box?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Vernie, could you tell us where they were located? Where they lived, the dentist?
Oh, right down by the lake.
Okay.
You go on LS across the bridge.
Yes.
And it's the first house on the left.
Okay. Was there, if I recall, there used to be an old dentist chair out on the
Right.
lawn, right?
Right.
And that's where this,
Yep.
these people, or she lived?
And he too.
And he
was
too.
still practicing, you know, part-time.
Okay.
So,
John and Idell Kirsch live there now.
yeah.
All right. And again, the name of these people is what again, please?
Bramer. What was his name yet? Carlton. Carlton and Ernestine Bramer.
Okay.
And there's a little B on the stone here to identify it.
Okay, just one moment.
Reamer.
Okay, we're standing at a special gravestone here, and I'll start with Richard.
Richard Wiegand and Vernon Kress. We were talking about Peter Werner. I would have to read the history, but we both recall that Peter was one of the founders of one of the early leaders of this community here in Centerville, Hika, Cleveland area.
Okay.
And his wife is Philomena is buried down over there. And that's all really that I can basically remember from what I read. But I know that I read some things about this man.
Okay.
The other thing I want to mention that's not related to him, but I don't know if the graves here are, the original graves were buried, people were buried consecutively in a row. I haven't looked at the dates here. It seems like they might have been. This was the characteristic on the Saxon cemetery up to about 1910 or so, 1915, something like that. They buried people as they died.
Ah.
In a row. They started on the edge and they came down and then they went back and then they went this way and then they went that way. That's the way they buried people.
Okay.
And then around 1910, 1915, they changed to a family plot system where people just bought a bunch of lots.
Sure.
And they would bury, you know, wherever they wanted to on the cemetery.
Okay.
I don't know if that system occurred here, but it seems like these are also in a row here.
All right. Okay, because I was going to ask the question, if he's buried here and his wife is over there,
Sure.
there was something going on.
Oh, we didn't get along.
That
Well,
could
it's
be.
probably because they you know, it was a separation of time.
Of time.
You know.
Okay, very good. Anything that you can add at all?
No, not much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, more of a massive gravestone here, and we have a lady who has some information on this family name. Go right ahead.
I'm Dorothy Anderson, and the Soxy name, they had a store in Hika here.
Okay.
And Frank and Willie ran it, and Bertha was their sister, and they all three lived in the house next, connected with the store.
Okay.
They were one of them, I guess, Frank was the postmaster, They also repaired shoes and did leather work. And
Okay.
they were quite prominent in town.
Okay. All right, very good. Well, thank you very much. A gravestone here, and the gentleman has some information on this one and the next one. Go right ahead.
I'm Vernon Kress Sr. I know this guy from when I was a young kid. He'd go up and down the road. He had a little red horse. And this over here, Albert, is his son.
Okay.
And he was in World War I and World War II.
Okay.
It was quite a feat.
Yes, it is. I'll be doggone, that's unique. And do you know anything about Albert at all?
No, he was a bachelor, that's all I know.
Okay.
He never married.
Never married. Okay, well thank you. It's a unique grave marker where the gentleman was in 2 world wars, but there was some more information that Vernon has here.
When my parents built their home, he was a very good painter, and whenever they had painting to be done, he was there.
Okay.
They hired him.
Okay.
He was a good man.
And he lived in this area?
Yeah.
Okay.
Down by the lake.
Oh, down by the lake. Okay. Any particular identification specific at all that you might know?
The whole house is torn down.
Okay.
It's part of the village park now.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Some information on a gravestone. Go
I'm
right.
Walter Kress.
Yes, sir.
This is grave of August Witt. He was the one that ran the brickyard.
Okay. And did
Died
you?
in 1965.
Okay. Did you have anything to do in that brickyard?
My father worked in the brickyard.
Your father worked in the brickyard. And there was a special name. Is that the special name for the brick?
Well, they call it Cream City brick.
Cream City brick. Okay. Very good. Thank you very much. You can explain a few things?
St. George there.
Richard Wiegand, Dolores Kress here wants to say something about the children's stones that were removed from the St. George Cemetery.
Okay, go right ahead.
Several years ago, they were all broken down, and they were all broken. Nobody knew what was buried there no more, so they
Okay.
picked up the stones and they threw them over the bank.
Okay.
In the corner here.
Oh, no.
That's all I know about
That's all that happened, huh? And there were children's grave
Yeah, they were
markers?
all children's. Yeah.
Okay. They don't know who from or anything, huh?
No.
Okay, well, very good. Thank you. Had a gravestone here in the cemetery, and a gentleman had some more information.
Richard Wiegand, this fellow I think I met once or twice in my life. Joe Slater was married to a woman named Anna Casa. And there's a cemetery called Casa Cemetery, which we will get to eventually in the north of the village here. But Slater was from South Africa. And I don't know how they met, but she went with him to South Africa, and they lived there for 30 or 40 years, and they retired in Cleveland here.
Wow.
The last, I don't know, 10, 15 years of their lives. And I remember them being on the farm a couple times, and this exotic person who was from South Africa, he had an accent,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
and that. Anna Casa Slater is a sister to Willie Taple's wife, William Taple, who was from the hardware store, and he was my dad's uncle. We'll move to that stone here.
Okay. On here, and there's a name on there that Richard can relate to a little bit. Go right ahead, Richard.
This is the Taple gravestone, Richard Wiegand. William H. Taple, who died in 1959, was married to Emma Casa, who was a sister to Anna Casa, married to Slater behind there. William Taple was the owner of the implement dealership and the hardware store in the village of Cleveland for many years. My grandmother, forget my grandmother's name, was a sister to William Taple.
Okay.
There's one daughter that's buried here, Gertrude. She was 11 years old when she died, and I don't know if anybody here can remember who she was. You do?
They died of scarlet fever.
Yeah, I even heard that she had 2 different maladies at once. I don't know, but she was a very, what I understood was a very attractive.
Oh, she was pretty.
Girl, and she died very young. She got sick and died suddenly.
And I remember you could only go on the porch. I must have been a little younger than that, and you could only look through the front window.
You
Well,
couldn't go
That
inside.
was a shattering story.
You mean for the
For the
showing,
funeral,
for the
for the funeral.
visitation?
Oh, really?
Don't get
Well, it
scarlet
was
fever.
quarantined, you know.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then tell about Margaret. She's living yet.
Yeah, there's another daughter named Margaret. Her name now is French, and she lives in Sheboygan. We see her sometimes. You know, she's a cousin. She's a relative
Okay.
of ours.
All right.
What? Not yeah, well. So this was a famous fellow. He helped get Dr. Fighter started when Fighter came to the village here to be our village doctor. Tapo lent him some money to get started.
Okay.
We lived next door to the doctor that died, Dr. Reinhardt in Cleveland.
Yeah, he also lived next door to Reinhardt, Dr. Reinhardt.
Okay. Very good.
Implement bill.
Implement bill.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
Here, who has some information we could use?
Okay.
Go right ahead and identify yourself, please.
Okay, I'm Marie Pippert,
Okay.
and this is my mother-in-law and father-in-law, and Gordon and Willard would be my brothers-in-law.
Brothers-in-law.
Okay. I'm going to just go down.
And-
Reinhardt was the father-in-law.
Yeah.
And Mary Ann.
Yeah. And he, I remember when they got married, she often told me they had $100 when they got married. And then well, can you hear
Go
that?
ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
And then he started the meat market and later on the nursery. But I don't remember what years those were either.
Okay.
And how much money did he have when he died?
Yeah, that I don't know. That nobody told me.
Nobody told you. But he had $100 when they got married.
When they got married, that she often told me.
Wow. Way to start, huh?
Yeah.
Where's Robert buried?
Here.
No, Robert. This
Yeah.
is Willard.
Well, that's his name
Oh,
is really Willard.
his
but
name
they
was
all-
Willard, okay.
Willard Robert. But
Okay.
they
Oh,
always
really?
called him Robert. Robert.
Okay. And it looks like he was in the
Yeah. He
war.
was in where Wallace was in the Navy. He was in the Army.
And your husband?
He's buried at Saxon, but no, he was 4F. He had broke both ankles.
He's buried at Saxon.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
On the Lutzy lot.
On the Lutzy
my
lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Marie was a Lutzy.
Yeah.
Okay.
We will get to that cemetery eventually.
Oh yeah.
Very good.
sometime.
Very
And
good.
a nice casa one. I like that one too.
And have some more information?
Dorothy Anderson from Hika. There was a butcher shop down in Hika, but then Pippert didn't like the competition, so he bought the Pippert the building and then moved up to Cleveland. That is the barber shop in Cleveland.
Okay.
So there was only one butcher shop then.
Okay. He took care of the competition with that. Huh?
That's what I just heard.
Well, that's very good.
Where's Robert's
He's buried on Calvert.
And that was
related to
Ella. Ella was still on the hidden corner.
Gum on the other side too.
Oh, what a sweet.
There's another one that we had out.
Robert Pipper's died in. Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Got some people who are some more information?
Richard Wiegand. This Herman Gum here, I think he would have been born, if I'm right, over in Town Mosel,
I think so.
on the farm over there. Okay. These are relatives of what's her name, Judy Garland,
Really?
from The Wizard of Oz. Her maiden name was Gum.
Really?
And either her father or her grandfather were born on that farm. And her father moved away to Minnesota. She was born in Grand Rapids, Minnesota,
Okay.
and later went to Hollywood. Okay, but she is a descendant of the Gum family, which is no longer in the that farm is no longer in the family, but it's over there in the town of Mosel.
Okay.
So these people are related to Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz.
Okay. Well,
Isn't
right.
How'd you know
Okay.
that?
Explain the rest of this.
oh, Kathy.
Okay, I'm Kathy Sixel, and this was Hertha Wilkie and Ella Wilkie. They were sisters.
Okay.
But on this side of the stone, it's Zills.
This one, no, you got to do some explaining.
Well, Ella married Hilbert.
Yeah. And that is the parents of Laverne Schambrook,
Yeah.
Edward Zill,
Yeah.
Adrian Zill, and Dickie Zill.
Okay. Now, go over this one more time because I see two
On the
names.
other side is the uncle and aunt. The two ladies were sisters.
Okay.
And they were Wilkies.
All right.
Okay.
Very good. That's a very complicated one for me, anyway.
Manitowoc. Manitowoc.
Okay.
Yeah. And Hertha was a Wilkie. On the other side is the Zill grave, and Ella Zill was a sister to Hertha Wilkie.
Okay. Very good. That's unique. Anything else, Kathy?
And I guess I went through who their children were and so forth.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I
Okay,
did.
thank you.
That's about it.
Got a gravestone here, and we have the husband, Andrew, and the wife, and now we've got some gentlemen who have some information here. Go right ahead, sir.
I'm Vernon Cress Sr. This is Irma Kramer. 1926, I was in first grade with her at the Red Arrow School. So I've known her for a long, long time. Something like 75 years.
Oh my goodness. Very good, very good.
And he's
Yes.
telling me Irma was the daughter of David Rarick.
Okay.
And how does the Sigel Co fit in there?
Second wife. See, the first wife died. She was a Brunsmeyer.
Okay, so
She died, and then David remarried. He married a Sigel Co.
okay,
Right over there.
and the Sigel Co woman was a descendant of a Wiegand Sigel Co marriage. There was a Sigel Co from the first generation of Wiegans that was born on our farm on Union Road, and
Okay.
one of the, I'm trying to remember what her first name was now, born in 1863, the second youngest one married an Ernst Sigel Co from where Grodegoat's farm, Dennis Grodegoat's farm, along the lakeshore. That's
Okay.
where the Sigel Co's lived.
All right.
And those people, I think, are buried on the Casa Cemetery, if I remember right, the Sigel Co's, yeah.
Okay.
So that's what I remember about that.
All right. Very good. A gravestone here, and I believe the last name is Grodegut. And could you gentlemen tell me the first name?
Gardner.
Gardner. Okay. And I'll probably start with Wally and see what he has to say about this.
I'm Wally Cress. About Grodegut, he was a very tall man, very heavy, and he had a military funeral with the horses and a complete military.
Really? The horses were?
Horses and all.
No, they weren't buried with them. They were just.
No.
They were in
buried
the.
the casket.
In
He
the.
brought him down here.
They brought him
Really?
down here with the horse.
Oh, for heaven's sake!
Horse-drawn.
Wonderful. Oh. Okay. Anything else you have to offer there, sir?
You want to
Yeah,
talk about
he was in the service with my dad
Okay.
down in Alabama, and I think they were in Germany for a short period of time.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
they both got sick about the same time. And I lived about a block away, and all these military papers I had to take back and forth. And I think he died in 1934, and my dad died in 1940.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anything else anybody can add here?
And William Grodegut, the father,
Yes, sir.
is on the end over here.
Yes.
He had the livery stable in Cleveland. He was one of the largest men around here.
Okay.
He was Hollard.
Speak of some of the horses he sold.
Yeah.
I have heard that he was close to 7 feet tall. That might be a
No.
little bit of a stretch,
No,
but
it-
probably way over 6 feet and weighed over 400 pounds.
Wow.
Oh, like Reuben Stoltenberg, too.
Yeah, and there's pictures of him on.
You didn't remember Reuben Stoltenberg?
No, I don't remember him.
Okay. And this is the gentleman here that was.
Yeah.
Now, did this gentleman have any other job? Wasn't there?
No,
You mentioned
just,
some kind of he worked as a bouncer. Or,
Oh, that would have
That
been
was him.
that was him.
Gardy worked.
Oh, Gardy. Okay.
I'm Walter Cress again.
Yes, sir.
Gardy Grodegut was the bouncer at Stropman's Winter Garden,
Okay.
which was down in the village here.
All right. Very good. Okay. Anybody else, Richard? Do you got anything at all with these gentlemen?
Nothing to add right here.
All right. Good. Okay, we're looking at a very tall grave marker here, and then we have two gentlemen here, and they can take over and indicate some relationship here, and perhaps also with the gravestone, what they know about it.
I'm Vernon Cress Sr. This is Walter Cress. We're cousins.
Okay.
And this is our great-grandfather. We never knew him, but he was in some kind of a war, and I read somewhere that he was a musician.
All right.
But he died in 1895, long before we were
Long
born,
before.
so
Okay.
we don't know much about him.
Okay. Wally, anything you can add to that one?
We can take you over to where our grandparents are.
That we will do. We will do that. Okay. Did you know, he said he was a musician, he was in the war.
Yeah.
What other occupation, was musician his occupation at all?
No idea what he did, huh?
Okay. All right. Is his wife buried here too?
Yeah.
That's everything right here.
Mother.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Looking at a gravestone and he can give us some more information.
I'm Vernon Cress Sr. This is my grandfather and grandmother. My grandfather was born in Buffalo, New York. My grandmother was born in Francis Creek, Wisconsin. How they met, I don't know to this day.
Okay.
But as you can see, they got pretty old. One was 90, the other one in the 80s.
Yes.
So they had
All right.
8 children.
Okay. And Wally, anything you can add to that? Okay.
That's my dad, my mother and dad here.
All right. Go right ahead. All right. Go right ahead, sir.
This is my father and mother.
Okay.
As you see, my dad didn't live very long. He was a victim of World War I.
Okay.
And my mother lived to be 88.
Okay.
So, a couple of days after my dad died,
Yes.
I had to go into service myself.
Oh, really?
Here,
Oh.
about it.
Okay. And if I may ask, what part of service did you go to?
Air Force.
Air Force?
Yeah.
Okay. And what year was that?
1941.
All right. Thank you. Take
Yeah,
over
I can
now.
take that one.
Okay.
Walter Cress.
Yes, sir.
This Vernon and myself, our great-grandparents.
Okay.
Our grandparents, actually.
Your grandparents?
Buchberger.
Buchberger?
John and Anna Buchberger.
Okay. And where did they live and maybe what did they do for a living?
They lived about a mile up the road here and they had a farm.
Okay. All right. Very good. Anything else that you might know about them?
Well, my grandfather, they say, was born on a boat coming over here
Oh, really? Okay. And what area did they come from
in Germany.
in Germany?
I don't know.
All right.
One was an Austrian and one was a Bavarian.
Okay. Good. Good. Thank you. Some more information on the gravestone we're looking at.
I'm Walter Cress again. And these are my parents, Joseph and Julia Cress. They were both born in the area.
Okay.
And to the left here is my brother Marvin,
Okay.
who died before he was a year old.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay. And the occupation of your
My dad
parents?
worked at a Walrus company for 33 years.
Volrath company?
Walrus company in Sheboygan.
Okay, and your mother, did she work out at all or was she...
She worked at Rutherford's for a while.
Okay, very good, very good. Okay, and as far as the amount of boys or girls and boys in the family?
We were the only two.
You were the only two? Okay, very good, thank you. More information on some gravestones?
Richard Wiegand. I wanted to mention Peter Yankunas here. He used to, he was like the general manager at the canning factory here in Cleveland, and he hired me. I worked for the canning factory on 3 different occasions for summer jobs, you know, between school year and that sort of thing, and was a very wonderful man. I really liked him a lot.
Okay,
That's what I have to say about him.
good.
And well, this is his son over here, who I didn't know.
Okay, I'll back up.
He was, he didn't get very old, but he was a veteran of Vietnam.
All right,
And there's an Alan Brust back
Okay.
here who is also a veteran of Vietnam. And neither of these fellows got very old.
all right.
Which one? This one? Oh, Steve was killed in a car accident, she said,
Okay,
in California.
all right, very good. Thank you,
All right.
Florence. Here, and Richard has some information.
This is where Ralph Yost is buried. He was the owner of the Yost hardware, what it was called, Yost?
RPO's company.
RP Yost Company, which he bought from his dad. And his 2 sons are running it now, Jerry and Randy Yost are running
Okay,
it.
all
This
right.
is another son of his, Brian Yost, who was killed in a trench accident.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
Yeah, one of the younger sons. He was also involved in the business.
Yes,
so
sir.
he's buried here with his father.
Okay,
And this is again, this is a plaque here for Ralph Yost. He served in World War II.
But he's living. No, Ralph is dead. Oh.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Ralph is over there. Oh my gosh, they got that there and here.
Yeah, I don't know why they use it.
Richard Wiegand, Marie Pfeiffer was invited to join us today, and she hasn't come, but I think she got busy with some visitors. Her husband, George, just died a couple years ago, and she lives near the cemetery here, just down the street here on Lincoln. This is her son, Gary. He's a Vietnam veteran also, and he died in a car accident along Lake Michigan. His car ran over the edge.
Okay.
And went down next to the lake, so that's all I know about that.
All right. We're looking at a grave marker, and this gentleman has some more information on this name.
Richard Wiegand. This is the grave site of Eugene Dossler. We can see that he was a World War II veteran, and he ran a service station here in Hika. His son is now running it, and his father ran it before him. He was, you know, one of the more important people in the village here.
Richard, the filling station really started out as a blacksmith shop.
Blacksmith shop,
Right.
okay?
And his dad ran it before him.
Yes,
So before generations?
and it started in the 1800s, late 1800s sometime,
Okay.
as far as I remember.
All right.
This is Francis Vanderloo, and both of the wives are still around. Francis Vanderloo was, I remember him very well, he used to work for Baylitz's feed mill. He was also was he the president of the fire department, or what did they call the chief? He was the fire chief, and he was also, I think, was he the first president of the village?
No, he
No,
was,
the constable.
he took care of the sewage plant and that.
Oh, okay.
Chief of the sewage plant.
Okay,
Sanitation.
yeah, he was one of the engineers here in town.
Okay, this is a Wagner. Edwin,
Matilda.
Matilda. Okay.
You got the name? Yeah.
There we go. Just one second. I'll get a hold of that. Okay. And Florence, you got something on this?
Edwin ran a lumber yard up in Cleveland,
Okay.
and I guess he got inherited from his father,
Okay.
as much as I know.
All right. Okay. You know any other part of the family at all?
Well, the boys, he had three boys,
Okay.
sons, but I don't know them. One is as old as one of my boys, but
Okay.
they moved away after a while.
Peter
All right.
and Paul, I think, were
Yeah,
his
Peter and
sons.
Paul were the twins.
Okay.
Were the twins.
Twins?
yeah.
Okay.
And they had a nice lumber yard. He was real helpful. He used
Yeah.
to help me real much in my house. Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
And his wife was a droll that had the droll bar up on the highway.
Okay. Last name again. Say that one more time.
Droll, Droll.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. We got some information on the gravestones that she's standing behind. Right ahead.
I'm Dorothy Anderson, and this is Ann Singleton's gravestone. She was a surer, and her father was the tavern keeper down in Hika. And then when he died, she ran the tavern for a number of years.
Okay.
And very interesting lady.
Okay. Did she run it? And she actually ran the
She
business.
ran it. But her husband, she met, he was a gambler, so she was with him when they gambled and stuff, but after her dad died, she ran the tavern.
Okay.
Was she the town clerk?
No,
No, she never worked for the village.
no.
No.
Okay. Stone that has some past history to it, as far as the person that was buried here, and we'll start up here with
Richard Wiegand and Dorothy Anderson. This is the stone of Hugo Shuri, and he was the owner of the Hika Bay Tavern. He had 68 consecutive tavern licenses. He was in his 90s, I think, when he died.
Wow.
Very prominent person in the Hika part of Cleveland.
Okay.
And the Hika Bay Tavern, I believe, is the longest licensed tavern in the state of Wisconsin at this point.
Okay.
And it goes back to the 1850s.
Oh.
So he was in the middle of that time period.
Okay.
Very important person.
Now we had just looked at some previous gravestones.
Okay. He was Anna Singleton's father.
Okay.
Hugo also had a son, Arthur, who
Okay.
helped in the tavern somewhat.
Okay.
And then they had a daughter, Elsie, who got, what do you call that disease? We used to visit her in the hospital.
Okay. But she's got some sort of virus?
Tuberculosis.
Tuberculosis.
Elsie had tuberculosis.
Oh, okay.
And so she was always in a home for tuberculosis. But when we at school had to sell tickets for
Seems like I probably saw him. I mean, he was there that long.
Fundraising?
Christmas, for tuberculosis,
Yes.
we always knew that we came to Hugo, he'd buy a whole bunch of them because he had this daughter in
Sure. Oh, sure.
hospital.
Okay. Very
So
good.
that was something we all dashed right down there to sell.
Thank you. Okay, we're standing next to a grave marker here that's quite tall, and we have a lady here who can relate something to that.
These are my grandparents,
Okay.
Adam and Anna Schwartz.
Okay.
But I never knew the people.
You never knew them at all. Okay. Do you have any scrapbook pictures of them at all?
No, I don't.
Nothing either.
No pictures.
Okay.
I wish I did.
All right. And maybe you can just read off the title there, if you would, please.
Okay, this is Anna Schwartz. Born June 14th, 1846.
Okay.
And died July 20th, 1919.
Okay.
See, and I was born 3 years later.
All right. Okay.
And he died.
Oh, he's on the other side. Oh, let me follow you around there.
Okay, 1911, I think. Adam Schwartz, he was born, I don't know, they got that in German, it must be December
Okay.
1929, and he died January
All right.
1911, I can make out.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Florence.
Sure.
Okay, we've got a group of people here who are very cordial and very knowledgeable and many, many things that we've looked at, and we appreciate their efforts here, but I'll let the people who organize this put their words into it also, and we'll start with the gentleman in the background.
Richard Wiegand, we're just wrapping up our meeting here, our cemetery walk today. We're standing in the St. George Cemetery next to the St. Johannes Cemetery in Cleveland, Wisconsin. And we've gone over several of the stones here, a lot of relatives of people that are here, including myself. And I'm not sure what our next step is after this. We may cover some more of Hika, or we may start talking about the village of Cleveland, the central part of
Okay.
Cleveland itself.
Very good. And Kathy, anything you might want to add?
Well, I would like to thank everybody for coming, and some of them I called more late in the day, but thank you everybody, and we need the information that you have. And I was surprised to see how many of my relatives are buried here also.
Oh, really?
Not actually mine, but my husband.
Yes, yes.
So, thank you everybody.
Okay, very good. I do thank you also. Here, and we've got something to indicate at the end of the tape.
Richard Wiegand, Wally Crest just indicated to me that this stone for the cemeteries here was donated by Helen Pippert.
Okay. Okay, and Helen Pippert is...
Was married to Gordon Pippert,
Okay.
and that was associated with the stone where the bench was.
All right.
Out of each,
Yes,
out of that Pippert
out
family.
of that Pippert family.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Okay, I'll end it with this look at the stone. I'll put a date on it yet.